it's the essential form of theater. It's the most complete form of theater. It gets everything together. Theater started with the Greeks, and they sang, you know. They didn't speak the lines. It started as opera all those thousands of years ago. And we're now, you know, in somewhere in the middle of the Renaissance, and after we went back to that. And it requires everything. It requires acting ability, singing ability in equal parts. It requires design, costumes. It puts all the arts together. Great designers, great pictorial, and a full orchestra, and of course music.
I once created a soundbite where I called opera, you know, your life sung back to you, you know, and basically,
Fabulous.
you know, I mean, I think that's why we go to the theater, is to be able to think about our life, you know, to see, objectify, put our life up there and see it. But in opera, not only do you see life up there, but you see this deeper penetration of emotion. Grand often has had a bad connotation with opera. You know, grand opera, it sounds stuffy, sounds highfalutin. But the word grand in this sense means large, larger than life. The grand expression, the grand emotion, not only spectacle, but taking the human voice unmiked and be able to sing with such volume and such power from the depths of your soul, the depths of your being. And I think that is what tends to make opera so very, very special.
Well, it takes place in a legendary mythical Egypt, and it's it's a star-crossed lovers story, but much more complicated than that because it's Verdi, and Verdi never writes operas to simple stories. It's one of the it's been sort of cursed with the spectacle part of it. Aida takes, of course, mobs of people. There's the famous music that everybody can hum. They just don't know they know it. But everybody knows Aida. They don't know they know it. When they hear it in the theater, they go, "Oh, that's where that comes from."
So I'm really very happy with the cast. I think that the way Lillian works, which is moment to moment with the singers, really explores the acting, but the human side of all of this. You know, when you see something ancient, like when you see the hieroglyphs, right? You somehow, you see these friezes, and somehow you think these people never move. You know, they either go like this, or there are these profiles like Nefertiti. But that they're not humans. And the point is that they're extremely human, and they have all of the jealousies and all of the insecurities and all of the pride and all of the capability of loving. And of course, I think what attracts composers to pieces like this is the ability to set off a personal situation against a grander scheme. So you have two countries at war with each other, Ethiopia and Egypt. You have the role of the court and the role of religion, because and you liken it to today. You look at I think of the Ayatollahs in relationship to the president of Iran. You look at that influence of religion versus the president. You look at during the Renaissance, where you had the kings, but there was always a cardinal or a pope, there, and there was this sort of delicate relationship between, the power of the church and the power of religion and the interests of the state. So Verdi throws all that up there, and then he does what Shakespeare did. He has Radames, who's Egyptian, fall in love with Aida, who's Ethiopian, basically fall in love with the enemy, and all of the complications that ensue. And of course, and he complicates it by having the daughter of the king of Egypt, who is very beautiful, being in love with Radames, the soldier who comes to lead the Egyptians in victory over the Ethiopians, and the Egyptians are triumphant over the Ethiopians. So this kind of conflict makes for really dramatic music. Aida calls for a considerable amount of dance, and we're very fortunate to have the Richmond Ballet in a partnership to do this.
For I don't like scene, ballet, scene, ballet. I mean, that kind of division, I mean, it always feels artificial to me and out of place, and all of a sudden it calls attention to itself. We're trying to incorporate the ballets into the scenes, so you never quite know when the ballet, all of a sudden they're dancing and you don't realize how it started, because we're trying to incorporate the dancing in the movement into the scenes, in the chorus scenes where they take place. So nothing stops for the dance comes out of the scene, and then it blends, it melts away into the scenes again.
One of the reasons why I think I love opera so much is I love seeing stories, both stories that took place, in the 18th and 19th century, and also 18th and 19th century composers, how they set stories that took place even before them. And I think, we live so fast today. We live so fast into the future because, we're barely learning how to use one cell phone before another one comes along, and then, and what's going on. But that we lose our connection to the past. And I think one of the things you can do with the opera is have that connection to the past. And, I think that when Lillian talks about how when we do these dress rehearsals for youth and for high school students, and they don't have any prejudice associated with anything, and they just come and they just take it in as it is, and they respond to the story and to the emotion so openly and so incredibly, you realize that the art form, I mean, if the opera's great, it'll be great. It'll be great forever. And I will say this. I think that there are, just like anything, connoisseur examples of pieces. I think that there are operas that, it's usually when you start drinking, if you drink alcohol, you don't start with scotch. Scotch becomes the acquired taste, and most kids start with beer, and then they can, and they progress. So I think in a way, opera's the same thing. I will say that I think there are some pieces that are good for a first-time experience. No question, Carmen.
Yeah.
No question, La Boheme. And I think Aida. I mean, Aida is an absolutely, first of all, you don't get a chance to see Aida every day because it does take a lot of requirements to put on an Aida. But as far as the way an audience can relate to Aida, it's one of those operas that you can that you should put on your list to go to.